Alrighty, what's up, folks? Excited here. It is Wednesday afternoon, and that means one thing only, and that means we're on the phone. My guest today, very good friend of mine, known him for about 15 years. Literally, probably one of the leaders of the coaching industry in the United States and Canada for real estate agents. He's done well over 12,000 hours of coaching calls with people, and I'm excited. Yeah, it's a lot, right? And I'm excited for you to hear him today. He's going to talk about what it means to be a productivity war. It's time to own the phone. Alrighty, welcome to Abby for on the phone. I'm excited today. And John Kitchen is here with me today. Let me give you a little background on him. John's from we call it L-Town, Lawton, Oklahoma. L-Town, right? And so he grew up there, went to school there, and you joined Jay's team in 2006, correct?
2004.
2004. Okay, so he hooked up with Jay King in 2004, got his real estate license. And then, was a real estate agent for several years, and then ended up partnering with Jay to help grow Jay's organization to a little over 500 homes in a year, which put that organization at went number 2 in the world for Gold Banker. And at that point, Jay and John worked together, and John was responsible for all the operations and essentially helped organize and systematize Jay's entire business, which allowed both of them to step out of the business and work full-time on our coaching program here. And, basically, so John's been our director of coaching for several years. He's worked with thousands of agents across the United States and Canada. He still works with some of the biggest and best agents in the North America. He's also a business owner. He has his own business where he helps real estate agents grow their business and also become great recruiters. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. And like I said in the introduction, he's gotten a little over 12,000 hours of coaching call. Oh, he's also got a couple screws loose because he does triathlons a couple times a year. And he's engaged in a long, like 50-mile, 75-mile run. So he is, he walks the walk. So he doesn't tell you that you gotta, work hard to get things done in this world. He actually lives in himself. So welcome to you, John Kitchen. It's good to have you here, sir.
Thank you, man. I know when you started kicking this off, I was looking forward to being able to jump in and hang out with you. You and I have pinged and ponged a lot over the years.
Live on stage, on the phone here. So it's a good show. We do this on a regular basis. We got a good groove here. However, I'm the one that's usually in the guest seat, and he's running the show. So today he's my guest, gratefully. So let's do this. Let's tell him a little bit more. I mean, Lawton is not like going to be growing up in Beverly Hills, So it's claim to fame is Fort Sill, right? And so big military town. I know you have Walters and Lawton and a couple of other small towns, but Lawton's really the only game in town. So what's it like growing up in an Oklahoma City, where it's mostly military and a lot of blue collar workers?
Yeah, it was, man. It was cool. We were on the east side, so and it's cool. I mean, it was I tell everybody we wouldn't be having this conversation if we didn't have the market that we had. And, you and I both have coached thousands and thousands of agents. And the one factor that we usually see is that most of the time, there's you have your unicorns, but most of the time agents in high price point markets get rewarded for bad behavior. In Lawton, sales price, when we were cranking, 110, 115, I know when Jay got in, it was 83,000. So you can't afford to, do things wrong for very long with that price point and those margins. So, Lawton was a blessing. It, forced us to pay attention to details, forced us to really, systematize everything and leverage systems and processes at a high level. But Lawton was good. Definitely definitely a lot of back roads to be able to cruise up and down. That was a typical weekend, in high school, cruising the back roads and finding an empty pasture to dump into and have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're an avid golfer. You actually you worked at a country club in town, right, for several years, and you were on the golf team in high school. So I know you enjoyed that. So you competed at that level, and then I'm trying to think here. Did you guys go to the state championship? Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah, so we made a state, every year on, from the golfing side of things. I played everything growing up until, getting into high school. I wish I would have continued to play a lot of other things, but you make those decisions. My dad's a coach, so 40 plus years in the Lawton public school system, and for me, it's kind of ingrained, right? It's to think back now, I was like, man, I'm never going to coach because I saw what those paychecks were, and I was like, that ain't for me. Right. And come full circle, just found still the coaching DNA, but just found a better way to go about it. Right. And so my dad was the golf coach for almost 30 something years there at MacArthur, which is crazy. And, so kind of grew up around it. He was a football coach up until my freshman year. And, new coach came in, my dad wasn't going to coach, and I decided not to play. I really, that was kind of, looking back sports wise, that was about the only thing I wish I would have continued with, was that. Yeah. And, been able to, have that experience, growing up. I was the kid, man. I was the water boy. I was the kid running out there, grabbing the tee on the kickoff. The one, all the players would, pick on, put in the locker, lock me up in the locker. And so just kind of growing up in that environment, I think had a tremendous impact, for me from wanting to help someone become better at whatever it is they're doing. And, just spending a lot of time with him. And, he coached girls basketball. So it was football into basketball into golf. And then he took care of, the fields during the summer. Think about it, man. You're a public school teacher and you're trying to pick up every little gig you can to pick up, as much money as possible. So that was fun, growing up, hanging out with him and all the different sports and all the different athletes that he had the opportunity to coach. And so that just kind of carried on for me. I just hung with golf. I was also on the beer drinking team. And so, hey, that carried into college, and college golf and the beer drinking team usually don't mix. So that didn't last very long. No. But, carried me out to California with my aunt, and continued the golf out there. Semi-private resort, two golf courses, public and member side of things. So getting that dynamic of how to deal with the public, and then also the politics of how to deal with members. And it was just a fascinating experience for me, man. That was my college out there. Got to spend 3 years, had an incredible boss. She took me under her wing, and, it's not about, hey, you can give golf lessons. Hey, you can play golf, but hey, you can run a golf shop. But it's understanding the marketing side of things. It's understanding how to lead, the outside people. It's understanding what's going on in food and beverage, what's going over in lodging. So that was just an incredible experience at that time. And that was the early, late 90s out in Silicon Valley area, and being able to see what was going on out there at that time was pretty awesome.
So, we talked about this a little earlier. My goal on my podcast here is, to inspire and to educate. And so the people that have come speak are either people that help others solve problems, overcome challenges, or have overcome challenges themselves and gone on to a successful life and career. You just happen to be somebody who has kind of experienced both of those things. Your mom passed away when you were how old?
Turned 11. I was turning 11 that year. Yeah.
Yep. And so, I lost my mom when I was I was 39, so I was older, but I lost my dad when I was 23. So I know what it's like to lose a parent. But when you lose a parent when you're in fifth, sixth grade, the trajectory of your life is
Yeah.
significantly more impacted. So how'd you deal with that at that age, and how has it shaped you as an adult, as a father, as a business person, at this stage of your life?
Yeah. And so my mom had breast cancer, and back then, just not the treatments and everything that they have, today. And they did a good, they did the best that they knew how to do, and it was really sheltering us from that. And we spent a lot of time with uncles and aunts, and just kind of as dad was there trying to take care of her, and we didn't get, and like I said, they did the best they can, thought that the best was to protect us and not to have us around. And, I think there was some resentment there. My sister is a couple years younger, so she was a little bit younger to not even have her mother there, going through, even into her teen years. And so I think there was some built up resentment there towards, my dad. But also understanding, shit, they were just doing the best that they knew how to do, and learning from that. Obviously that takes time to have that viewpoint. And there was a long period of time, I didn't stay close with him, and moving out to California, and when I got into the teen, high school and into college, independent, because he was gone all the time, right? Coaching, he's always games, events, sports. And so, I just think there was not being close and kind of moving apart. And, I think there was some, hey, why weren't we around? Like, even, the night, that she passed away, I was on a school bus going to a playoff football game, with the football team. And, my sister's right there with me because she's part of the little cheerleaders that are out with the big cheerleaders. And, I think looking back over time, being able to reflect on it, understanding, what they were trying to do, and, how I would handle it differently if that situation, if I was in that situation. But I couldn't imagine, going through what he's gone through. And then not only to do that, but to remarry for over 20 years, and to lose his second wife to cancer as well. And it's just one of those things, like, shit, Wally, I couldn't imagine, losing, dealing that with Holly, but then doing it again twice.
Yeah, it's funny.
And so, I think over time, being able to understand that as we've grown, and looking back, that dude's my hero. Like, I couldn't imagine, what he's had to deal with, and as stoic as ever, right? Like, you just wouldn't tell, he's probably dying inside, to have to go through that. And so learning a lot, over time, has been the case. But yeah, it's definitely nothing I would ever wish anybody to have to go through.
Oh, sir. I want to underscore something, because I think it's really important. There are lots of kids whose one of their parents dies, and then their other parent, probably just because they can't deal with it, kind of checked out a little bit, or just continues to put their head down and go through life and not really explain what's going on. It's very traumatic, what I'm saying? And that trauma can be very, very impactful on, bad things happening for them. You know what I'm saying? You could have very easily turned out to be a totally different person and have lived a very negative life, but you haven't. So where does that come from? You know what I'm saying? Because admittedly, you said your dad was just kind of, right, just not there, right? Just kind of was very stoic and didn't nurture you, right, and anything like that. So how do you explain the fact that you are who you are today, and and this caring, wonderful guy, great dad, just really wants good things for other people and isn't afraid to share his feelings. How did you get here?
Man, I think during the time, it's, growing up playing golf and really learning, mentally how to let shit go, and, not let it carry on with you. Right. Because it can hold. Right. And if you're trying to become better and play competitively at that level, like, you can't let that carry on even to the next shot, let alone the next hole or the rest of the day. And, just having developed that mindset early on, and then, for me, man, I was going down a slippery slope in college, and my aunt saw that. And so, she said, get here. Like, you don't have a choice, get here. And she goes, I will get you a job in the shop and in the pro shop. And, I go out there, and that completely changed the direction of my life. I was living in college. Mike Reese and I were living together. That's for those of you guys, Mike and I go back junior high days. That's the connection. And so we go back all the way to those days. And I mean, we were living in a house next to a crack dealer, man, getting our house broken into every other week. They even stole Mike's dog, right? Like, that's L-Town for you. And so that slippery slope was going down, and, partying every night, and, just random people at the house. And so she saw it from afar, and, that's, we all go one way, right? Or you could go the other, and it could change drastically. So for me, it was making the move out there. I had never really worked out on a consistent basis. And I immediately started working out, and then maintaining that mental discipline and working out and taking care of myself, and really starting to think bigger, and, starting to create bigger ideas and things. And I think, for me to even come back was the realization of the ceiling in the golf industry, on the teaching and the business side of it, man.
Exactly.
Those guys those men and women don't make nothing, right, on that side of the business. And so it's just understanding, like, I think I've always been in pursuit of just better, and knowing that there's more opportunity, and just kind of navigating every which way that I've gone. And so I think that really was it, was just her having somebody that sees, that gives a shit, to be like, hey, what are you doing? And really, being able to get into that environment, and
Right.
then that changes everything. Environment is everything.
So your life could have been drastically different had you not gone out to California then.
Who knows? I don't even want to think about it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
All the positive influences in lawn,
Yeah. So many.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just to prove positive, obviously we talked about the marathons and and not the marathons, the triathlons and the super marathons and stuff like that. But, always trying to get better. A lot of people have bookshelves with books on them. They've never read them. I know for a fact that you've read just about every book on that bookshelf behind you.
Yeah.
So, you live, and that's, I think that's what I love a lot of things about you. One of the things I love about you is that you live what you teach, what you preach. It is very congruent in your life and in your teaching. So look, I'm gonna wind you up here. I'm gonna pull the string and let you talk. Productivity warrior. Let's talk about it. I'm saying, you and I, you call it cutting lawns, right? Because it's like you're literally, and in a second, but our calendars are literally stacked one after the other with coaching clients, and some days it starts at 8 and it doesn't end until 6 or 7, and you call it mowing lawns. Because did you ever work with Mike and Jay cutting lawns, or no?
No.
Never had the
No.
displeasure of doing
I
that?
know when Mike and Kobe were in the lawn game. When I moved back to Oklahoma, I got hooked up with one of my best friends through junior high and high school, and he sucked me back. He got me back. But they're serial entrepreneurs, and so they were on the road construction at the time, and he needed somebody that he trusted out on the road with his business partner, just so he didn't have to be there, is what it was. And we had fun, I mean, it was fun. And until, it's one of those gigs that, if you've got family, it's not a gig that you want to be on. And so getting back in, getting back home and not traveling, and what we set up, man, we had a lawn landscape company, built it up, sold it, partnered with another guy that had a sign manufacturer neon company, built that up, sold it. We got into the trash business, built up the trash business, landed a large account, sold it. And then, to me, it was, we were sitting around. It's a terrible idea, by the way. So it is 2003. We just sold the trash company, I think, to Waste Connections or one of the large players. And we had an awesome office. It was really cool. And we were kind of sitting there drinking a beer, and buddy goes, "Hey man, the bar up around the street is for sale." He goes, "What do you think?" He goes, "I think we should buy it." I'm like, "Whatever, let's go." So we get in the damn bar business, open on January 1st, 2004. Supposed to not be there January 1st. I worked all day January 1st. Mm-hmm. I then proceed to work 120 some odd straight days at this bar. And stuff's not right when you walk in at 6:30 in the morning and you walk over and you pour you a nice stiff Crown on the rocks. You better be looking to change things up in a hurry. And I rode that gig until about summertime, and I told him, I said, like, I'm out, I'm done, can't do this anymore. My son was 2, my daughter was just born, and man, you talk about just going down a slippery slope again. And so word got out to Michael Reese, and Michael made the connection to Jay, and I met Jay and Reedy in the office at 1146 Northwest Cash Road while it was being remodeled. We sat in that office, and he ended up saying, "Man, I can't afford you, but I got to have you." And I guess the rest is kind of history.
And we're there.
It's
a good story. I love that. But anyway, the mowing lawn metaphor is that, when Jay and Mike had their businesses, they were trying to get as many people next to each other next door so they could just cut along, just keep going, right? So,
yeah.
And so we use that analogy, I guess, here, because it's one call after the other. And so we have to remain productive, because we just don't do calls. We do other things too. We do sales, we do group seat training, we do all kinds of stuff. So John created this this presentation, I don't know, 10 years ago, at least, maybe 9-10 years ago. Calls it Productivity Warrior. It's great stuff. So I'm just gonna you take it and roll with it and just talk Productivity Warrior for us.
Yeah, man. I think you have to understand, being productive is just getting the result you're after. So if you're not getting the results you want, you're not being productive. You're just being busy. So what do you have to do in order to be productive? One, you got to know what the result is that you're wanting, right? What's the outcome that we're after? And then, the process that we take people through, reverse engineering to what can we do within our control today, this week, this month, this quarter, this year, that's going to get us the results we want. And so going through that process and getting really, really clear on what it's going to take. But then, we've got to clear the mess, and the mess is us, right? And the mess is in our head. And that usually derails us from being productive. If we're not clear on the things that we have to do, the things that are within our control, then, distraction, the force of distraction is going to get us. And so we've got to know what it is, the result that we're after. We got to know what actions we can take that are within our control that are going to help us in pursuit of that. And, it all starts with, if you can't, I like, hey, how can I coach somebody else if I can't coach myself, right? How can I lead someone if I can't lead myself? So that falls into, how are you leading yourself day in and day out, right? What is it? How are you, all of the other equities of your life, right? And we know this, right? We've worked with so many agents that they're, what's the wheel exercise, right? If you have them grade on a scale of 1 to 10, all of the different equities, 10, it's a perfectly round circle. Like everybody we work with has flat tires. So it's like, how can you help get a little bit more, not a balanced life, but having those equities a little more out to where they're thriving at a high level. And man, I'll never forget, I read, man, you know this book, The Power of Full Engagement by Tony Schwartz. And that book just like really resonated with me. And I remember I read it up when the guys were going to Tanglewood all the time, right? When Mike was living at the lake and they were at Tanglewood all the time. I remember I was up there and they were doing their thing or whatever. And I got a hold of The Power of Full Engagement and I just devoured it. And what they talk about in there, and it was based upon the science of them when they were working with tennis players and professional athletes. And how do you get a tennis player to peak and then a short break, peak and then a short break, right? What are they doing in that pause in between shots to be able to get back to where they are fully engaged? And they break down the buckets of the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. And what they found is that all 4 of those have to be at the peak level to perform at that next step, at that next level. And, the physical is also not only, it's what we think about, right? How can I get stronger? But it's also, we have to look at on the opposite flip side of it. How do you recover? How do you recover physical? How do you recover mental? How do you recover emotional? How do you recover and understand spiritual, and not religion, but spiritual in the form of knowing who you are and your values, and are you living in alignment to those values? That's how they position that pillar, right, of those 4 buckets. The physical, it's like, man, you got to lift heavy stuff, right? You got to get out there. You got to lift. Lifting heavy stuff rejuvenates the physical. The mental is the silence, the prayer, the, meditation. And then the emotional rejuve is cardio, is walking, is that type of exercise. So you have to, bring all of those elements into your day to day. And you and I are huge advocates and fans of Hal Elrod and Hal's Savers. The silence, the affirmation, the visualization, the exercise, the reading, the scribing, those 6 activities, those 6 things can cover all 4 of those buckets to where you can perform at the highest level.
Right.
And that to me is what it means to know the outcome you're after in any equity of your life, and then implement those on a consistent daily, the discipline to do those activities to be able to perform at the highest level. That's the easiest way to really sum up, Productivity Warrior, is know what you're after. And then are you disciplined to the activities that allows you to perform at the highest levels?
Yeah. And amazing. I love how you just condensed that in very nice little bite-sized pieces. So this is, and I'm pointing my thing here. So what I've learned over the last, certainly the last several years, but certainly the last several months and working with people and the research I'm doing is that what keeps people from following their calendar is the same thing that keeps people from making phone calls, is the same thing that keeps people from reaching their goals. It's the same thing that creates procrastination and all that other stuff. And it's that belief system. What I'm saying? It's that limiting belief, or these hidden identities we have where we're not deserving of, we're not worthy, we're not good enough. And I think it's super important that if you're going to be a productive person, you're going to stick to your schedule and you're going to go ahead and follow through on your goals, and you're going to be productive and not procrastinate. If you have any work to do around, your belief system, your belief about yourself, about your belief about your self-worth and what you're worthy of, that is going to be a huge obstacle to achieving what you want. Right? Because we hear this all the time. I can't stick to my calendar. I just have trouble sticking to my calendar. I don't want to schedule everything because I'm going to feel limited, and it's just, these are all just external representations of a belief system that just doesn't want to admit that they need structure. They need to spend time, like you said, every day working on 3 aspects of themselves: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So, I think at the end of the day, the key to what you just said is you have to know where you're going. You've got to take action, but at the same time, you got to work on the different aspects of who you are and framing the belief system that you want, so that you can continue to move forward and not, hit that block, where like, oh, I can go for 3 months and then I fall apart, or I can go for 2 weeks and I can fall apart. So I think what the key ingredient is doing those savers and making sure that you're actively working on, retooling your subconscious and growing your level of intelligence and improving your physical health so it can support your mental health. I think that's a huge aspect of what you just talked about.
Yeah, man, it really is. And I know you've done a lot of work on this, and so definitely nobody better to connect with than you to really kind of work through that. And understanding circumstance and environment drives our thinking, and then our thinking forms our beliefs. So if you have disempowering beliefs, disempowering thoughts, but it's usually from a circumstance. And I know you've dug deep. You've worked with a lot of people that help people dive deep. And so really being able to unpack that and change that is, and just even the stories sharing with you, earlier, circumstance, right? Environment, moving to California. What was that? How did that change? Right. And then, getting into this freaking stupid bar business and, that circumstance and how that changed, which led to, aligning with Kinder in 2004. So, just in those different circumstances, my thoughts were different. When I moved to California and in that environment, my thoughts changed, my beliefs changed, and, same thing. And so just be, really protect and be really careful, the environments that you get plugged into. And because that starts the chain reaction, because that leads to your thinking, that leads to your beliefs, that leads to your feelings, that leads to your behavior, which then leads to your results.
Like T. Harv Eker, the Millionaire Mindset, the TFAR, thoughts, feelings, actions, results.
Yep.
It's and a lot of times, it happens like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's literally blink of an eye fast. So I think awareness is important as part of the whole process. Well, thanks for going through that. Give us a quick commercial on Agent Legacy and what you're doing over there, and kind of how what you're doing over and above your current coaching business to change the lives of real estate agents and salespeople around the United States
and the globe now, right? So we've got some we've got some folks in Portugal that are kind of in the community, and being at EXP, really growing the organization below me and Holly and all the people that we've had the opportunity to work with over the years. We just knew that we wanted to be able to have a community to where we could pour into them at a much deeper level. Just our time, this, I mean, we just time is so limited, and, we want to pour into people that want to align, that, see value, see real value in what we're doing and want to be a part of it. And so, we were kicking around, kind of some fun names, and I've always had kind of an awareness of legacy. And I remember sitting at Traffic and Conversion when Damon John was on stage, and he said, man, he goes, I don't want to leave. He goes, I don't want to leave my kids an inheritance. I want to leave them a legacy. And that really has kind of stuck with me ever since he said that. And the cool thing with legacy, it's whatever you want it to be. And what is that legacy that you want to empower and leave your kiddos? And here's the thing. What your grandkids say about you, that's your legacy. What do your great grandkids say about you? That's your legacy. what are they going to say about you in that time? And I got the little love handle with the reminder of it.
Mhm.
And it's just one of those cues, always thinking about it. And is this going to impact? So we thought of the community. I was like, is legacy something? And so we ran with Agent Legacy, and everybody that's a part of the Agent Legacy is a legend. So Agent Legacy Legends, because legends never die, right? So
that's why they're
Agent Legends.
Legendary.
And so that's what's fun, right? We live in a creative world, so I changed my title to Chief Legacy Officer. So it's
is what we can see up there, right? So,
yeah.
right.
So
Chief Legacy Officer, right? They took care of you.
Yeah, and I think also it ties right into my why. And Holly really helped me unpack this, and she has some fantastic trainings on Find Your Why, the Find Your Why process. She's done it in Agent to CEO course that she taught with us, and it's really how she helped me understand it was, what are you the best in the world at, so that you can do to have your fulfillment. And I'm pretty dang good at challenging people to think bigger, and so that I can help people transform their lives and transform their businesses. And that's definitely the path I'm on, to inspire and to challenge people to think bigger, for our present to be better. Our future has to be bigger. And so that, people can live bigger lives, have greater impact, and be a better human being.
Awesome. And a lot of people say stuff like that, I want to do this, I want to do that. But I mean, you and Holly, you guys are living it every day and changing lives. So it's awesome. Anything else you want to? Yeah, appreciate you. Anything else you want to drop on anybody before we go?
Man, you can do, I don't, one thing that kind of, we're talking about pops, and you brought up, you had to talk, bring up family, you had to bring up old stuff.
You didn't bring up anything. I said, hey, we're going to be talking about this. Shall I read the answers to your questions for the questionnaire I sent you? I'd be happy to read, because I think they were like, whatever you want to talk about, I'm good with that. I'm down. I mean, I can share the screen.
Always. Yeah. I think anybody that knows us, like, we talk about anything. There ain't nothing off limits. Whatever you want to talk about.
And you know what? You can put on Front Street whether you want to or not. So
So one of the things, man, I've never been a runner. I never enjoyed running at all. And so, everybody has that little milestone. Hey, I'm turning 40. I'm not going to go buy a Corvette, but I want to do something that is meaningful. And so, losing my mom, she was 39. She was about to turn 40, so she didn't even see 40. And so I was like, man, I really want to do something that, for me, that's going to really, really push me. And so I had never run a marathon before, and I'm like, I'm going to run a marathon, but what marathon can I go run that is meaningful? And obviously I'm a turtle, so there's no way I'm getting to run Boston. And so I was like, I could get into New York. And I love, like, anytime in New York, that's my favorite place to run. Put me in New York City and just give me a pair of shoes and let me go. And it's amazing. It's just the energy. It's just incredible. So I was like, man, I want to run New York. And so we signed up for the New York City Marathon. But what was cool through that process was that's really where I had a higher level of awareness for my dad. I was turning 40. He was turning 70. And spending a lot of time out running, doing those activities, just a lot of time, it made me appreciate him even more. And so, that whole, hey, this is about me, I'm running this, turning 40, turned into, this is about him. And it, we ran with Lace Up for Pops was kind of the theme. And we did a surprise birthday party. His birthday is in October, and New York City Marathon's the first week in November. And so we did a surprise birthday party for him, had my aunt and then, his sister and two brothers surprise flew in. We had this big party for him turning 70. And we surprised him with, hey, you're going to New York. He's never been to New York before. I'm running New York City Marathon. You're coming with us, taking you to the city. And I think, sometimes, committing to things bigger than us and challenges, sometimes we go into things for one reason and discover that it's for something entirely different. And, that kind of sparked the drive for continuing to push. I did that, Lace Up for Pops for him, run the marathon. Then we did Ironman. We went Ironman.
And you did 2 Ironmans, right?
3. So we completed 3.
Right. And then you did that in, what was that, super marathon thing? Was it 50 miles, 75 miles?
So I've done 200 Ks. Well, one was 100 K. So a little over whatever, 50 miles. But then the next one was trying to go for 100 miles and ended up getting 80. And so we're taking
wow.
Yeah.
Slack you are 80 miles. Wow. You're disappointed in yourself.
Yeah. We're taking a crack at the 100 again. So we've got a 100 miler in August coming up. So we're going to take a crack at it. And then we got Ironman Texas at the end of the year. So we got a couple more left to go.
Yeah, I remember how happy you were when your dad finally got to see you perform in a triathlon.
That was a couple months ago in
also, yeah, I remember just I remember that.
What's cool is we got done, and I'm of course being a turtle, so I finished real late. But they had secured some pizzas before the pizza place closed, so we went back to the hotel, sitting in the lobby eating pizza. But as I was walking in, Holly, I walked back with her in the car, and they were already back at the hotel. But I remember walking up to the hotel, and he was standing out there and just gives me a big old hug. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool moment.
Amazing. We've been in hotel lobbies before and done things far less, savory than that. So, man, it's been awesome. I love getting all kinds of amazing comments from people, man. Just, talking about God bless family, so good, beast mode. So, you got lots of fans for sure. Man, I appreciate you making the time to come on here. I know you're busy and want a paper hanger. Love you like a brother, that. And
love you too, brother. Appreciate you.
Anything else you want to say before we go?
Man, just I think it's just one of those things, find what you love doing and find something you're willing to commit to. I think that's it, because it all starts with commitment.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Cool. Appreciate you. See you.
That's John Kitchens. I'm Wally Bressler. This has been On the Phone. Hey there, this is Wally Bressler, and on behalf of my guest today, I'd like to thank you for joining us for this episode of On the Phone. If you'd like more information on how to overcome sales call reluctance, procrastination, and self-sabotage, and become an expert on the phone, go to www.phonesalessecrets.com. And if you'd like my free course on how to overcome sales call reluctance, please go to www.phonesalessecrets.com/go.